readers, it's Lori. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper, or welcome if this is your first time. This today is, I guess it's Book Chat Live Chat, which I haven't done in a while. Book Chat Live Chat is a series that I do when I feel like I have something to tell you. And it's about books and life and just weird little things. So hopefully you won't turn me off now and you will stay and join me. I got my coffee. I have some water. I have some stuff to show you. So let's get started. I'm trying to remember when I did the last book chat live chat. I'll have to look because I really don't. I'll put it in the title. But I know it was in the fall. It's been a while. I am not going to show you what coffee I'm drinking at the moment, but I'm going to tell you what coffee I'm drinking. Not right this minute, but these days. I'm loving this. I don't often put cream in my coffee unless I'm going out and I buy a coffee from somebody else who does. I get a latte or something, frappuccinos. But I was gifted for Christmas some espresso roast K-cups in a box, and I had never had espresso roast K-cups before, and so I thought, well, those sound good. And because it said espresso roast, I decided one day when I was making a grocery list that I should possibly add some creamer to the grocery list so that I could maybe tame it down a little bit, because I love a strong cup of coffee, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I need a little bit of something, and I don't put cream in my morning coffee at all. It's just got to be black, dark, delicious. That's the criteria. So I got some hazelnut creamer, which I love my hazelnut creamer, and I've been using these espresso roast K-cups, and I've been doing this like right before, like around 11 a.m. because I don't want to do it too late in the night because I don't want to not sleep. 11 a.m. and I have really love this. I even have a little whipped cream I can pop on top, which isn't too many carbs, and it is like my morning snack almost. It's so good. It is giving me life. And in addition to that, I gave up Diet Coke. Like, I haven't had a Diet Coke and I can't tell you how long. It's been at least a couple of months. And my partner gave up Diet Coke around the same time. And I said, well, if she's not going to buy it anymore, I don't want to put it in the house and make her, want the Diet Coke. So I went straight to unsweet tea with some stevia for like a cold drink when you have to have something cold. And oh my gosh, I just feel, I just love it. And I can make decaf too, so I can have one in the evening if I want to. It's just been working out so well. So that's what I am loving these days, but this is just a regular black cup of coffee. Me and Mickey. This is an old mug from 2018, the Festival of the Arts at Disney World. So that's what I am enjoying, and I am really loving. So at Sam's Club, they have these toffee truffles. I should have brought you one to show you. They're in a purple gold bag. Ugh, I wish they weren't so good. They're really very good. So in addition to the milk chocolate covered almonds that we love from Sam's Club, we now are also, I am anyway, also loving the truffles. I know. What am I reading? I'm trying to finish this by the end of the time I have this book, which is until when do I have you till? The 21st. So not much longer. This is the 11th, the day I'm filming this. I'm listening to it as well as reading it physically. It's really good. This was my nonfiction pick that you chose to have me read. It does have recipes in it. It has photos in it. So I definitely want to have the physical copy as well as the audio copy that I have from my libraries. But yeah, look, that's the picture of the Barefoot Contessa Fine Foods restaurant. She took over the new store on January 1st, 1985. Spoiler alert, sorry. So I'm really excited about that. I'm enjoying that. Then I'm also reading The Dream Hotel, but which we talked about a lot, but I am about 65 pages in or so, I think. This one is good. It's slower for me at first because they're setting up the characters and the premise of the plot of this, which is obviously important. There are some like different articles in here. There's one meeting notes where they've redacted some things. So it's epistolary in some ways, but here's an audiobook transcript. But I really am enjoying it. I think I could finish this by the end of the week if I have the time to read. But also, I have to get to this. I have book club coming up next week, Pride Without Prejudice book club. So our LGBTQ themed book is, where's my phone? Swimming in the Dark. Is that what it's called? Let me see. Swimming in the Dark. I was right. By Tomasz Jadrowski. And I have this on Hoopla, both in audio as well as ebook, although I don't love reading ebooks on Hoopla because you have to be in the app. And so that means a different way of doing, but it's fine. So I'll probably listen to that more than I will read it. This one is a historical fiction novel, which I haven't read in a bit, set in 1980s Poland. Two young men fall in love, start a relationship with each other, and then they discover they're on opposite sides of the political system and divided by that. And so they're in love, but they're then in at odds with each other. And so this sounds like a really great book. And they bond over an illicit copy of Giovanni's Room, which was the book we were reading for the book club last month that sadly I didn't get to. I know we had a death in the family last month. My daughter-in-law's grandmother, Mama, died. I may have mentioned that. And so we had just some changes that, and I couldn't go. It was the funeral was the day of the book club. So that made that really hard. But I will read Giovanni's Room. I might read Giovanni's Room right after I read this, but that's got to happen in a week from today. So I got to get on it. I don't think it is terribly long, 6 hours and 30 minutes. So I should be able to get through that pretty easily. And it was published in 2020. So that would be, I can't count it as a backlist though, because it wasn't on my backlist. And then on my Kindle, I'm reading All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. This is one that is on my backlist, has been on my backlist. I've been wanting to read. I read Razorblade Tears. I put this on my pile of possibilities for this month. I've definitely started it. I don't know if I'll finish it this month, but I've definitely started it and I'm happy with it so far. But I'm just eking into the beginning of it because I just finished Amari and the Night Brothers, which you'll hear about in my wrap up. And what else did I finish? I finished something else recently. I don't know. You'll find out when I do the reading wrap up. And then here's a book I'm hauling now because I am not sure if I'm going to keep it or not. But this is the Self-Awareness Workbook, Finding Your Way to Well-Being Every Day. This is very glittery, so it's really hard to get it into a good space for you. Sorry. I got this at Barnes and Noble. This is where the sticker was. You know how Barnes and Noble will sometimes put cheap books out on a cart in front of the building? That's what happened. This had a little 50% off sign on it, and I think it was even more than that when I ended up getting it. So it didn't cost me a lot of money. It was originally priced at $14.99. I think I paid $5. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I might end up giving it to, I was going to give it to my daughter, Megan, but the problem there is she has a 7-month-old baby, and you guys who've ever had a 7-month-old baby know she is overwhelmed. Even though it's just the one, we all know. New moms, new baby, it's a lot. And so she's not getting to read as much as she'd like, and she's not journaling as much as she'd like. We have conversations frequently about, the challenges of all of this. And I say, take good care of yourself, take good care of yourself. But there's only so much you can do. And she's also a very kind of, like everything's organized, everything happens on these days. Like she doesn't give herself a lot of slack, but she would be great at this, I know. But, oh, I have something in here. What is that? A Post-it note that says, Lisa, March 20th at 5:30. Both of us, April 11th at 11:30. For what are we supposed to be in these? Oh, hair appointments. That's what that is. Okay. Self-awareness workbook every day, morning and evening. Well, every day that you do it, morning and evening prompts for you to take a look at. sleep rituals, health rituals, meditation, random acts of kindness, self-care practice for the day will be. They're not all the same either. So you have different pages, which I really like because sometimes those can get a little mundane. But this seemed like a good thing. You know, I'm pretty self-care aware. And I think this one's the same as that other one, is it? It's close anyway. Pretty self-care aware. I love these kinds of things, so I may end up gifting this out. What's funny about this is it's like the sun and the moon, even though it was a sticker that made it darker because it was discolored from the sun. But yeah. And then I'm still doing I happen to have this here because I was working on this, my Silk and Sonder monthly journal. So this one is more about habits and what I ate and things like that. So yeah, I'm pretty caught up on this and enjoying doing this. You can journal. I'm not going to show you my journaling pages, but they look like this. And you have a little space to do each day. And then this is where I put my women's booktube prize long list. I have 2 pages, obviously, but yeah, this is where I listed those. So sometimes I put bookish notes in here. There's a place for you to color. There's a recipe each month. I really do love these. There's a Sudoku, which I am terrible at. I just suck at that. You can track your monthly expenses, which I don't do, but I probably should. At least my bookish ones, right? Because I'm trying to stay within the money that I have put aside for that. But yeah, here's one of the things you can color. So yes, I'm working on that too. Self-care, 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 especially these times. Self-care is very, very important. So let me know in the comments below, if you'd like, what self-care you are engaging in, because I think that that's important for you to consider. And if you don't want to put anything in the comments about your own self-care, you could put a candle in the comments. Is there a candle emoji? I'm sure there is. You could put a little light or something just so that I know that you're taking good care of yourself. So here's what I want to talk about next. TV adaptations. The only thing that can get in the way of me reading, like I would be reading 24/7 probably if I didn't have to sleep, but I would be reading all day, I'm sure. If I didn't have to work, which I still do, if I didn't also love television, and sometimes if I didn't have to buy groceries, although I can have them delivered, so that works. But television and I are good friends, and I do love television. And recently, we have been trying to catch up on or stay current on some of the shows that we really love that we've been watching. So we are current on Severance, which if you haven't seen it, it's on Apple TV. It's very dystopian, very creepy, very interesting. It's about a process that people choose to sever their brains from their memory banks and the things that have been happening to them. And they sort of create a clean slate for them where they go to work at Lumen and they work all day. And then while they're home, they're back to their memories and their sadness or whatever it might be in their lives that happened to them. So people who sever to this project are people who don't want to remember these things that happen in their lives, or they're depressed or whatever and they don't want to be depressed, so they just kind of escape it for like 8 hours a day. It's very weird. It's very well done. We can't get enough of it. I look forward to Thursday nights every week, but because Thursday nights also contain The Pit, which is a medical drama with Noah Wyle in it, and I watched the show which I think was called, what was it called? It was a medical show too. Years ago, I watched that. And he was in with George Clooney. That's how long ago it was. So he's doing a new show called The Pit. And The Pit is a medical drama, but every episode, of which there are at least maybe 9. I don't even know where we're at, but there's a number of them. Every episode is on the same day. So it starts in the morning. Everybody who comes into the ER, which is the Pittsburgh hospital, which is why it's called the Pitt, P-I-T-T, they all come in and then they start seeing all these patients in every episode, but it's the same day. Okay. I love this concept. I love Noah Wiley. I love all of the actors in this show. I think this is like my new favorite medical drama. I haven't watched Chicago Med in a really long time, and I feel a little bad about that, but it was kind of getting a little bit like redundant for me. And sometimes their stuff was just so far-fetched. It was like they were doing these like impossible things, and I will say that the pit is pretty realistic. And I'm not a medical person, but my son is, and I have lots of friends who are, and they've all said this is really very, very realistic. This is not your ordinary TV medical show where they do these crazy things that no one's capable of doing. But so the pit is also on Thursday nights. It drops on Thursday nights. So I have been having to sometimes juggle because also what we just finished is The Traitors, the new season of The Traitors, with the Scottish guy whose name I can't remember now, but he is hilarious. But this is the US version of The Traitors. There is a UK version of The Traitors and there's an Australian version of The Traitors, but we always watch the version of The Traitors that's set in the US, and usually we watch the one that's set in the UK. The Traders is about, if you're not familiar, people who all come in and they've all been on some sort of a reality show before. And so people are somewhat well known if you watch a lot of reality shows, which quite frankly, I don't. And each of them gets to play this game. And they don't know, though, that three people usually are chosen as traitors. So the rest of the people are faithfuls, and then there's three people that are traitors, but the faithfuls don't know who the traitors are. And the goal is to get to the end of the show, and somebody hopefully has made it so that nobody knows that they're a traitor, and they end up winning, and they get a bunch of money, and they go home. Or all the traitors might be gone. They just don't know, but we know as an audience. And I just love the show and I can't get enough of it. And I've watched every episode of that except for the finale where they all come back and talk about their experiences and sometimes get in some fights. So I need to watch that, but that isn't exactly my favorite episode. I really just love it's just they do these challenges too. Like sometimes they get stuck in a coffin. This time there were some bugs and creepy crawlies. They do some really challenging stuff to get money. And then if they end up with this pot of money at the end, if they're still standing, they get the money. Does that make sense? I probably didn't explain that well, but that's it. The Traders. And then also we're watching The Voice, which we have watched before, and we love the music. And I can read while I watch The Voice because I stop and listen to part of the song, and if I love it, I keep listening, and if I don't, I go back to my book. But I can read and listen to music most of the time. So I do love The Voice, and I love Adam Levine, and he's back on The Voice, so that made me happy because I've missed him. So now we'll talk about the series list that I have made of series that are adapted from a book that I may or may not have read. So here we go. And this is my dilemma. Do I read the book first or do I watch the series? Yeah, this is a problem. Okay, so the first series that I am interested in is Olive Kittredge, which I recently talked about when I shared that her current book, Tell Me Everything, is on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. Elizabeth Strout, Olive Kittredge came out a long time ago. It's a miniseries with Frances McDormand, Bill Murray, and Richard Jenkins, three of my favorite people. I've not read the book. I think I need to prioritize Olive Kittredge in order to be able to get further in this series and you know that Elizabeth Strout has written, but also to maybe watch this adaptation. My daughter watched it. She read Olive Kittredge, said it's really good. I could check the library today because I have to go pick up the Kate McKinnon middle grade book. I could do that. Maybe. Maybe. So that's number one that I'm interested in. Number two is Station 11 from Emily St. John Mandel's book that I loved, haven't read in a really long time. The only reason I haven't watched Station 11 so far is because it's been so long since I read the book. I thought to myself, as Lori often does, oh, you should reread it before you watch the adaptation. But should I? I don't know that that's necessary, but this one stars Mackenzie Davis, I think, if I'm reading this right, and Himesh Patel. Station 11 is dystopian. It is the end of the world, kind of like who's going to survive and how will they survive and what do they do. And I just loved that book. It was one of my favorites. It's what turned me on to Emily St. John Mandel years ago. I really would love to reread it, but perhaps I watch the series and then I reread it later. It's a possibility, right? The next one is A Discovery of Witches, which is Deborah Harkness's All Souls trilogy. It's been out for a long time. I think the first book came out in 2011. And I tried to read it not long after it came out, and I just could not get into it. I know. And you know that sometimes fantasy is not my jam, but also 2011, like I'm trying to think what was happening around then, but it was probably work related. I was not reading like I read now in 2011. There's no question. I dropped it, soft DNF'd it. I didn't own it. I just had borrowed it. And I just thought, no, just not the right time, not the right book for me. But everybody who talks about this book and this series just adores it. So this series is 8 episodes long. It stars Matthew Good, who I really love, and Teresa Palmer, who I don't know that I know about, but I probably, if I saw her, maybe would. And again, it's a trilogy and it's about witches and it's fantasy. And you would think I would really love that because I've loved other books about witches in my life before. But I think it's because it's more fantasy maybe than horror. I don't know. I just don't have a real clear memory of what it was like to start it. I just know that I didn't finish it. And so there you go. But I would like to figure out if I'm going to read it or if I'm going to watch the series. All right. And then number 4. The Couple Next Door. Isn't that Sherry LaPina? I didn't write it down because I was like, oh, you know who wrote that book, but let me just see because I don't know that I know. The Couple Next Door stars Sam Heughan, Sherry LaPina. I was right. Sam Heughan, who is Outlander famous, right? He was Jamie in the Outlander series. Lots of people love Sam Heughan. I absolutely am a fan of Sam Heughan. I've also read his autobiography, which was okay, it was good. And I watched the show that he has with the other guy who's Graham, somebody who was on Outlander with him. The Couple Next Door, though, looks really good. It's on Stars, and I think we're probably going to watch that. I don't think I need to reread that book. I think I own it, though, so I could do, but I feel pretty confident about remembering that book. So I don't think I need to reread. But if you didn't know, this one is out. And if you have a subscription to Stars, then you're all set. Some of these you do have to have a subscription to, which is tricky, I know, for a lot of people. However, your library can also come in handy then because Canopy has some of these on their streaming service as well as they sometimes have DVDs and things in the library, so that's also good. And then the last one on my list, I don't know when it's coming out. I think it's going to be a Netflix series. I can't wait for this one. This is the Thursday Murder Club, the adaptation of the book by Richard Osman. I have read that one. I have the 2 others next after it, but this one I'm really looking forward to because this is Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Sir Ben Kingsley, Celia Imrie, David Tennant. It can't get any better than this, right? Like Jonathan Pryce. I can't even. Like this is a cast of like amazing actors and actresses. And so the Thursday Murder Club is definitely on my list. And I don't think I have to reread that because I recently read it and I might go on to book 2, but I'm hoping that this ends up being a series that they follow through his books, which I don't know if he's ended. Tell me if you know. Has he completed this series? Because I know he just recently wrote another book that wasn't in this series, or is he coming back to this series? Like these are things I didn't look up, but I would really love it if one of you knew the answer to that question because it's important to me. So that's the list of adaptations that I really want to get to. The only other life thing that isn't necessarily bookish related is that I have discovered in this spring season my love of trying to get outside and walk again, and I was doing really well, and then I got sick, and then I now I'm trying to get back to that space. And we got an exercise bike as well. I had gotten Lisa something for Christmas and she didn't end up liking it, which we knew was a possibility, so I wasn't like upset by that. And she said, if I don't like it, we'll just return it and I'll get something else. And so she chose something else, which was the little exercise bike that we have in our room. We've had an exercise bike before. We used it to hang clothes. We are both noticing that we are totally not in the shape of bicyclists. So, cyclists, I guess it is. So, we are going to have to do this like 10 minutes a day and maybe 5 minutes a day and then build up to 10 and then build up to whatever we can do. But it is I think it's going to be good. I think I can listen to audiobooks while I'm bicycling, which I love to multitask. It makes me feel better about myself, probably hence why my youngest daughter is the way she is. And I can watch TV or listen to podcasts or do whatever, right? So I think that that's great. And I can do that when I, have my phone with me when I'm walking too. So that's been something that I have married with my reading, and I have a really nice little area I can walk to. There's a little free library not far. So maybe one of these days I'll vlog and show you my little pathway. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the ability to do some things in the spring. When the summer comes, will I still have the drive to walk in the 98-degree heat with the, heat index of 120? I don't know. But for now, it's a beautiful time to walk. Windows open is my favorite time of year, and I'm hoping that we can milk this for a good part of April as well, because summer sometimes comes here in March, which is really unfortunate. But that is my other sort of bookish related physical thing that I'd like to do. I really want to take care of my health, my heart, my lungs, my everything, right? Like being sick made me realize that, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be and that obviously those were germs, infections, viruses. There's nothing that I could really do about that. But I just realized that I don't like being inactive. And while I'm not a particularly overly active person, I do love to take a walk. And my mom walked every single day, not all of her life, but definitely in her older years. And she lived to be, in her 90s. So would that be something I would want? Yes, please. I would love to live into my 90s and be with my grandchildren as long as I possibly can. I would even tip over into the 100s and be happy with it. What about you? What do you think about aging and longevity and exercise? I know some people cannot do that. There are lots of reasons why you can't, and I know that's difficult and frustrating. So certainly don't want you to think I'm not sympathetic to that, because I am. And also, it's hard, but there's so many studies now about walking and about moving your body just even a little bit each day. And I'm out of the yoga habit, have been for a while, haven't been meditating. You get sick and everything just sort of closes in for a while, and then you have to find ways to open it back up into your habits and rituals for the day. That is my current focus, is like the self-awareness for me is like thinking wise, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to focus on what's working and the great things that are happening in the world. And also, though, I'm, just kind of pretty sedentary. So that's the next step for me. So let me know in the comments below what your book life chat would contain, what you want me to know, what you want to share about your bookish life and your life. And if you've read any of these, watched any of these adaptations, please let me know. Please especially let me know about A Discovery of Witches. If it was just me, if it was just I needed to get to a certain point, which often is the case, I'm happy to revisit any of those. And I'm happy to win $1 million too, so that I don't necessarily have to work as hard as I do now, but we'll see if that happens. You got to play the lottery to win the lottery, as my kids always say. So that would be great though, right? Or a long lost relative that wants to give me all of their money because they found me some way. That'd be great. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time and your effort to be here, to comment, to support this channel, to support each other. I just love you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.